Mid-October, time to hunt big critters, and we're at the place to do it, famed Lake of the Woods in Northwest Ontario. We're staying at Miley's Place Resort that has great access to big muskies and giant northern pike. My friend Brian Miller and I planned this trip back in July, knowing that this week that we're here is traditionally the peak week to be here for the bait coming in and the water temperatures cooling and being able to intercept big numbers of those big fish. However, conditions right now aren't what we planned them to be in July.
Right, so here we are, the water's warmer than we planned for, but so what do? You've got to adapt, and so what I anticipate is we're not going to be seeing bait like we'd expect when the water temps are, up above, let's just say mid-40s and lower. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this tiller boat and these boards, and we're going to go in after the pike and muskies and get them shallow.
I think that's a good strategy, and I think we're going to have some success. So let's get this thing
I
wet,
can't wait.
get some fish. Tullibes, or ciscos, depending on where you're from, are an ideal forage item for big predators. They have nearly double the caloric value per gram of flesh compared to spiny fish like perch. So look at it like this. If you eat a pound of sausage as opposed to a pound of lettuce, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck with sausage. Tullibes are cold water fish and spend most of the warm water period in the thermocline in basins that are roughly 30 feet and deeper. After turnover in fall, tullibes are free to move throughout the water column and begin making movement to shallow structure in preparation to spawn. Like most fish, the males will generally appear first and the females will follow. The actual spawning takes place in very cold water, just as the ice begins to form on the lakes. Eggs will spend the winter on the bottom of the lake developing, so ciscos spawn in areas where the eggs won't be covered by silt and suffocate. That means prime locations to look for spawning ciscos are rock, gravel, or current areas. Of course, you don't need to be fishing near tullibes to catch muskies, but if you find an area with the number of them around, chances are there's some big toothy critters nearby. Pick up a few more hits. Do you think it's, I ended up getting yours. Think it's a musky?
Hard to say.
I didn't see it, did you?
No.
Okay. All right, just keep your line tight. I got this thing. That's professional action there.
Get her? That's musky.
Nice. Cool, Brian.
Here we are.
There we go. All
right.
Musky in the boat. Sweet, dude. Yeah, let's see that baby.
All right, here we go.
Beautiful, beautiful musky.
Now we got a nice main lake wind back here, and we've been covering these points pretty tight, and this one just gave one up, so I'm good with that. What do you think,
Absolutely,
Jerry?
great fish, and we'll keep fishing these points that are wind blown. That's the first one. Fell
right.
victim to a flat stick. Cool, let's get her back in the water.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
Nice,
Let's go
sweet
get another
fish, dude. That was awesome.
All right.
And yeah, we'll replace the hook on that. You know, one thing when it comes to catching muskies is having the right tools, and that fish was hooked in the corner of the jaw. Not a big deal. We probably could have popped it out with the pliers, but it was, not a giant muskie. Someday, hopefully, it grows up to be a big one, and you want the fish to look nice for the next person that has an experience with it. So we just cut the hooks, and I make sure to carry a nice selection of hooks in the boat here, and we'll just replace the hook. They're cheap, and you want to make sure you got rather lose a hook than have a scarred fish. So
I got my hook right
out
here.
Good, perfect. Yep, little 3-aught VMC. The gear we're using for this musky trolling is specialized specifically for this application. On the rod side, we're fishing with the St. Croix Premier. It's an 8-foot, heavy, moderate action rod. This rod can take a big planer board like Brian's got on there. It can handle the load of big baits. And of course, it can absorb the shock of a big fish when you're going at a relatively high speed and everything folds up. It's not going to tear out the hooks. On the line side, we're fishing with Suffolk 65-pound metered braid. This line is a different color every 25 feet. This is a very useful tool if you're not fishing with a line counter reel. And even if you are, you've got backup redundancy to fish it on a line counter. And the line counters we're using are the Quantum Controller. This is a size 20. It's got plenty of line capacity, and it's also got, of course, the clicker. It's such a great sound when you've got your rods in the rod holder and you hear that a fish has bitten. But if you're gonna head out and musky troll with the equipment that you've got, one thing to remember is make sure you've got a light drag, so if a fish bites, it can pull line. And I would strongly recommend using a metered line, and probably the lightest musky rod that you can get away with, so the rod will flex and it's not real stiff when you're trolling. You do that, you're gonna be in business.
If you notice the distance that we're fishing here, this is really an ideal shoreline where you've got Jeremy's running his bait back, straight back behind the boat. I'm trying to split the distance with the shoreline with running the planer board, and you see what I'm doing, I'm managing the distance all the time by reeling in and letting more line out. What I'm able to do a lot of times, I can get that planer board where that bait's diving down about 7-8 feet where Jeremy's down in 10 feet. And a lot of times I'm able to get right up next to that shore. Otherwise, if we were just running baits right behind the boat, we're missing all these fish that might be between the boat and the shore. And so far today, that's been working out for us, and we got a few more daylight hours to burn, see if we can get a big one.
One observation we've seen today is that inside line has been catching a lot of fish. That's where the pike and the muskies have all been coming from. And many people think in fall the fish go deep. Well, it all depends on the local conditions. I mean, it can be a beautiful fall day like this. It's nothing for the fish. I mean, the boat can be in 30 feet of water and 2 feet of water is there. You get some sunshine or whatever conditions the fish like, they decide to go shallow, they can be there. So, of course, angling is always about experimenting, and having baits real tight like that can make a difference. You can catch more fish fishing shallow sometimes. It might be deeper, but play with the different depth ranges and let the fish tell you where they want to be. If you just go out and stick with, say, a 20-foot contour and you don't catch anything all day, well, you should probably be fishing shallower or deeper, but always mix it up, and eventually you're going to find out what the fish want or where they're at. There's one. Oh yeah, there we go, Brian. That's the real deal there, buddy, I think. It's not rolling anyway. All right, let's see what we got here. It's not doing anything.
Back up.
It's not doing anything. All right, put it in reverse. Stand down, I can't tell. Just complaining about how I blew my opportunity to small pike. I'm thinking musk. I haven't seen it yet. We got a little bloom here, Brian. It is a muskie, all right. We are slaying him.
How you doing?
Good, he's all wrapped up. He snagged, that's why he felt so big. All right. Another fish on the flat stick. You know, when you look at presentations that are effective for bass, walleye, muskie in this case, you always want a bait that's fishing efficiently all the time. And the giant flat stick like we're fishing now on 50 feet of line is covering 10 feet of water. It's bumping a 9. It is absolutely the most effective tool that we can have down in this water. Now we might experiment with a few other baits, but day in, day out, this style of lure for musky trolling is hands down the best. And now we got what is not a trophy muskie by any stretch in the net here, but at the same time, don't get discouraged because this is what the results are. When you're fishing in the fall, you could run into fish like this on one trolling pass. You can come right back through this area, and the next one might be 35, 40 pounds. In Ontario waters, you might be dealing with the fish in excess of 50 pounds. The dream is there in these waters. So just because you got that, be happy with it, but you could still catch a giant on the next pass. All right, cool. Pretty, 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 pretty musky. Just beautiful. Aren't they? Gorgeous in the water like that. Someday you're going to be a 40-pounder. When you fish shield water, the intimidating part of it is there's so much water that looks good. I mean, islands, saddles, reefs, you know, you name it. It's, you know, it's a musky paradise. There's so much great habitat. But what we've been focusing on this trip and fall fishing is really a lot of sharper water. And Brian made the point, you know, of running that planer board close to the wall. Any fish that are between us and the boat are going to see it. Now, if we were to go troll, you know, big flats, there's a low probability that we're going to contact a fish. So we're spending a lot of time focusing on areas where there's a sharp drop to that 10, 12 foot, maybe even slightly deeper that has good round rock or broken rock on it. And we're spending our time trolling in there. So if there's a muskie within a boat length of the shore, the chances of it seeing one of these two baits are very high. Now, if we go again, troll big flats, the chances of encountering a muskie there are a lot lower. So we're just stacking the odds in our favor by trolling these sharp drops where the baits are always in front of the fish. Talking about stacking the odds in your favor, trolling is it. You're basically making casts that last an hour or more in the perfect depth. And trolling is a good option all year long. Early in the season on many lakes, muskies suspend in open water feeding on tulibies. Trolling shallow running crankbaits like super shads can be a great way to catch fish when the muskies seem absent from the shallows. In midsummer, we've had great success trolling big spinners over giant weed flats that seem too intimidating to tackle casting. And of course, here we are in the fall doing the classic contour trolling that has a history of being one of the most productive patterns late in the season. The setup Brian and I are fishing out of is a 1775 Lund Pro Guide, and this is like the ultimate trolling boat. I've got a 90 horsepower Mercury on the back, and notice it's a tiller boat. And for contour trolling like this, a tiller boat is almost a must. You can get away with the kicker, but trying to make these really tight corners like this in a wheelboat is extremely challenging. So having the tiller gives you a huge advantage to staying on the spots and keeping your baits fishing in the right water much better. And I've got it, of course, set up where I've got my electronics in the back here. I've got two sets of electronics. One is dedicated to sonar, the other one is to the map. So I've got all the screen real estate I need to know exactly where I'm at, get as much information as possible. Then, of course, the motor is a huge part of the system too. This is a 90 horsepower 4-stroke. It's super quiet, extremely fuel efficient. I've got a 4-bladed Trophy Plus prop on this thing that's got a lot of grip in the water, so I can turn the boat, I can jump, I can corner. It just makes the whole system really dynamite for doing this, and it's super seaworthy. We're on Lake of the Woods right now, and I've got no problem running 20 miles across big water to fish water that we want to check out. So if you're coming up here and you've got access to a tiller, I would strongly recommend it. Here they come, they're about to bomb us. They're running from the seagull. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Big fish, Brian, big fish. Holy smokes. Wow, was that cool?
Is it a muskie?
Yeah. Nice, very nice. As we're in the process of retying, that's how it goes. It seems when you're fishing, when you got something going on. I just broke off on a snag. The other thing is Brian's run the boat twice and has had good success. Oh wow, bite. Giant northern. Keep him in the water. I'm not ready yet. All right, can be. Oh wow, big pike. I mean, he just put the boat in gear. It was one of those things where, here, I'm broke, you retie, puts the boat in gear and goes, oh, I got one. Brian Miller, boat captain. I mean, that's one of the fun things, of course, about strolling. You can get a big walleye, you can get northerns. Of course, the target is muskies.
Oh, now that's a big pike. Jeremy and I just came around this corner looking for big muskies. Of course, these guys live here too. Let's take a quick look at some of the features and areas that we look for.
So how do you pick the best areas to troll? Well, first we'll look for big spots, and preferably areas with a lot of big spots close to each other. The more you keep your baits wet over the course of the day, the more likely you are to get bit. The idea is you want long runs so you don't have to pull your baits out all the time and waste time running to new spots. We like areas with sharper drops. This way, the baits will always be close to the fish. If you fish slow tapers, there's less probability the fish will find your baits. If you see bait or something that looks good, Don't be afraid to make multiple passes over that same spot. Sometimes you might have to make 4 or 5 passes around a good point before a fish decides to bite.
Wow, no kidding. Cool. Really interesting markings on that thing. Another big pike, man. I mean, these are big jacks. That's one of the things in the fall, is these pike are out to sea for a lot of the year where you don't have access to them, but in the fall they come up and they're on the same stuff you're catching muskies on, and that's a lot of fun when that happens. Oh, look at that. Awesome. Awesome bonus fish, isn't that? That is a beautiful,
Nice.
beautiful pike. And you know, the thing, Brian, is we had just caught another pike that's almost the same size on that spot. And it's about replication. I mean, it's fishing stuff in shield water that looks the same. Now, you might fish some natural lakes that only have 1 or 2 good spots or a handful of good spots, but when you're fishing shield water, there is so much habitat that's almost identical. When you find something that looks good, repeat it. Look for stuff on the map. There could be 3, 4 spots within a mile of where you're at right now, and pay attention to how much line you had out, how deep of water you're in. Repeat the system, and that is really the key to trolling success.
That fish literally came, we just got done release one, we went right back where he came from and caught him in the same place.
Boom, let's get her back, huh?
All right, yeah, let's get more.
We're on giant water, the lake in the woods, putting on I don't know how many miles a day, both running and trolling. And we get into some big wind situations at times. And one thing I gotta say as a lifesaver is this Smooth Moves seat system. It saves your back when you're in those big rough seas and you're sitting all day doing this. And being comfortable, of course, helps you stay fishing longer. And it's just a great add-on to your boat. If you're fishing long days or big water, you're gonna love this thing.
Trolling doesn't demand the same physical endurance as casting because you're sitting all day. But at the same time, sitting all day in cold weather can be demanding in itself. That's why it's important to dress properly. On a late fall trolling run, you can be leaving the dock when it's below freezing, then have temps in the mid-50s during the day and cold again at night. This is where layering plays a huge role in comfort. Here's how we dress for a day on the water trolling. It starts with a good base layer. The Gill I2 long sleeve t-shirt and leggings is 100% polyester embedded with bamboo carbon technology that's fast wicking for comfort and warmth. I use a pair of waterproof trousers for pants. From there, we go to the knit fleece, which is basically an awesome heavy-duty sweater, and throw on a Thermogrid vest over the top of that, and your base and mid layers are complete. On the exterior, I really like the Crosswinds jacket when it's not pouring rain. But if you're dealing with rain or waves splashing over the side of the boat, we like to finish the system with the Coast jacket and trousers. Throw on some good socks, a performance breathable boot, and a storm hood, and you're ready for battle.
There we go. Fish, fish. Good one.
I'm almost out here.
Feels like a pretty good sized fish anyway, Brian. Oh yeah, nice big muskie. Sweet. Awesome, awesome way to start the morning, man. Nice trolling pass through here. Bounced a couple rocks. New water. Thing of beauty. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome. Bring him in right here. Ah, muskie in the morning. What a great deal. I think we're gonna be clear on everything. Watch that there, Brian.
Real unit of muscle.
Come here, bud. Watch yourself, Brian. Whoa. All right. Come here, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah! All right! Big fish in the boat, dude. Woo! We put on a lot of miles. We covered a lot of water. And that's the name of it. When you're musky fishing, you just never know when a big fish might show up and come to the boat. Huh. It happened. That's the excitement of musky fishing. I absolutely love it. Oh, got her. Jeez.
Wow.
Wow. Look at the size of that animal. You want to capitalize on big time opportunity that's efficient? Fall trolling can produce some of the biggest fish you'll see of the year. Wow, I can hardly hold this animal.
That's what it's all about, man.
What a
Awesome.
giant, beautiful, beautiful animal. It wants to say goodbye.